Hey everyone, welcome to the webinar. We'll be starting in exactly 3 minutes. In the meantime, enjoy a couple of videos. Which do you prefer? The one on the left or the one on the right? The one on the left or the one on the right? The one on the left or the one on the right? So why does your inbox look like this? LeanMail. It's more you. Hi everyone. If you're just joining us now, the webinar will start in just 2.5 minutes. Stay tuned.
My name is Jody Back.
I'm Catherine.
My name is DJ Duarte.
My name is Zach Evans.
Denmark.
Borough, Delaware.
UK.
Beautiful Yamaguchi, Japan.
General manager of 2 hotels.
Planning logistics manager.
The owner and founder of Makoto Flow Limited.
I've been using LeanMail now for about 2 weeks.
About 12, 13 years.
3 years.
And I have to say, I'm a big believer.
The days of you dragging and dropping your emails into folders or searching for somebody's name or project is gone.
My world changed in regards to using emails.
I couldn't do my job as well as I do without it.
And it's really helped to alleviate a lot of the anxiety that I used to feel.
Truly impact your productivity and effectiveness.
For the first time, I felt that I was in control of the emails and not the emails controlling me.
I won't be without it.
It's been great.
Essential thing of my workday.
Amazing.
Continuing to perfect my LeanMail skills.
Keep me and my mailbox organized.
Between 80 and 150 emails a day. LeanMail.
Shout out to LeanMail. Thanks to Esther.
So get on board.
Time to buckle up those seatbelts. We'll be starting the webinar in just 1 minute.
Put the needle on the record.
Big warm welcome to everyone attending today's LeanMail webinar. LeanMail webinars present thought leaders, domain experts, and the latest cutting-edge technology in a relaxed, open forum. Speaking of a relaxed, open forum, please feel free to add any questions you have to the chat at any time during this webinar. We'll probably even open up the mic. The ones we don't get to in the webinar, we will answer personally afterwards. Today, we have Martin Perry from Redwing Training with us. Martin is a leading expert in Microsoft Teams based in the UK, and he's going to share his knowledge about Microsoft Teams channels. For a lot of people, Teams has become an essential tool to stay in touch with their colleagues who are and will continue to work outside of the office. These days, meetings are predominantly held online. So in place of those water cooler and coffee machine conversations, we're now using the chat function in Teams or Teams Conversations more. But many of us are missing a huge opportunity with Teams channels. Well, that's what Martin Perry believes. So without further ado, I give you Martin Perry. Welcome, Martin.
Good morning, Michael, and morning everyone else. Welcome to this webinar. First of all, I'm just going to share my screen share presentation, but I'd like to start just by saying I'm delighted to be here this morning and presenting this webinar, Understand Microsoft Teams Channel, and a huge thanks to Michael and everyone at LeanMail. I'm Martin Perry. As Michael said, I'm based over in the UK. We run a company called Redwing Training. Microsoft Teams is a huge part of that company. We've been using it pretty much since Microsoft released it back in 2017. We couldn't live without it. It's brilliant. But where I want to start is really just giving you just a kind of a bit of a background to Microsoft Teams and where it's come from, because it's quite staggering where it's come from. Microsoft only released Teams back in 2017, and it is their fastest uptake any software they've ever had, for obvious reasons from last year. But even 2 years after they released it, there were 20 million daily users. And I grabbed hold of the figures just a couple of days ago. As at April, these are the latest figures Microsoft have released. As at April 2021, there are 145 million daily users of Microsoft Teams. That's quite staggering when you look at these figures. So what is Microsoft Teams? You do a search on the internet and you hear things like it's workspace chat, it's a great place to have video meetings and conferences and file storage, and it's a hub, and they're all a bit droll. They're all a bit dry explanations. So I've got my own explanation for Microsoft Teams. If you take your calendar and video conferencing and meetings, and you can collaborate, sharing information on Excel and Word and PowerPoint, online meetings, Sharepoint and OneDrive. And if you take all of this and mix them all together, throw it in the oven, and 20 minutes later, out pops Microsoft Teams. And then you season it to taste with things like teams and individual tasks, plans and projects and polls, questionnaires, surveys, bit of news now and again, some videos, CRM apps, account apps, and some fun, and so much more. And a lot of this we're going to look at this morning. Now, there's a great quote that the CEO of Microsoft came out with back in January this year. Teams is on its way to becoming a digital platform as significant as the internet, browser, or a computer operating system. And I totally understand where he's coming from, completely understand it. And here at Redwing Training, just to give you an idea of how we've used Teams, or Teams channels as well, we spend probably 80% of our day in channels. And just to give you an idea, we worked with a client.
Sorry, Martin, do you mean 80% of your day or 80% of your time communicating?
80% of our day in there. It's not just about communicating. Wow. It's so much more. In fact, I'd be really interested to know how much time anyone else spends in their channels. I think we've got a poll that we can launch. If everyone, interested to know how much time people spend in channels in an average day. Here we go. If you can see a poll that's just popped up on screen, if you could.
So I think this one says how much of your communications takes place in Teams. But I think even that is going to be very interesting to find out.
Yeah, let's find out. So I'll also fill it in as well.
Yeah, with your 80%, you're going to skew the results. No, look.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think we've got quite a high percentage there. Great. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you very much. So, this morning is all about channels, team channels.
Well, Martin, I love your PowerPoint, just like I love all PowerPoints. But maybe you could show something in actual channels while you describe this. Is that a possibility?
Yeah. If you want me to jump into my channels, we can. If you just bear with me a second, I'm just going to fiddle my screen around, just change things around a little bit here. Give me a second or two. And then, more than happy to share my team channels. Right, so.
For our guests, this is totally unrehearsed.
They're normally the best ones. They're normally the best ones. Right, so here we go. Here's the Microsoft Teams that we use here at Redwing Training. So our channels are over here. So here we've got a team, Redwing Group.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Martin, before you get into that, let's go really basic in the beginning, because I can imagine that some people have never even seen what this looks like before. Some people don't even use Teams. I don't mean to spend a lot of time there, but maybe you could explain what a channel is, first of all.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to do that. So first of all, we start with a team. So here we've got a team called Redwing Group. And to start with, every single new team gets a channel. That name of the channel is general. And from there, you create your own channels. So here we can see we've got half a dozen channels. We've got Redwing Training, that's the one that's the busiest one. This is the one we use a lot. So we've got half a dozen channels here. Now, with channel, this kind of takes a lot of planning. Rather than kind of create a team and then kind of think, oh, we need a channel for this, we need a channel for that. It's always an idea to take a step back and say, okay, how do we work? How many channels are we going to need in this team? How many teams, in fact, are we going to need? Because I deal with a lot of different size companies. So just give you some examples. The smaller companies that I work with and train and help understand how to use teams, they kind of may have just one team, and that one team could be broken down into channels such as a finance channel, an HR channel, and maybe a training channel. So there's very few channels. Then you might have kind of a larger organization who have teams simply for projects. And then within that team, they have a channel for each individual project. So really, every team is broken down into these channels, but the key thing is to plan those channels beforehand. How do we work? What do we, how are we set up? What would we want to do in each one of these channels? And obviously, we're going to show you that this morning.
So I'm just thinking that with all those projects, occasionally you need to retire the projects, right? Is there, maybe you're not going to show that now, but at some point, maybe you can show us how you actually retire a project, because otherwise I can imagine we're just going to have so many channels, it gets out of control, right?
Time and time again, I work with new clients, and you kind of look at their teams and straight away you suddenly see 20, 30 channels. And then you ask them, well, how many of those do you use? Oh, one or two. You can archive these channels. You can archive them. All the data within those channels is retained. We're not deleting anything, but yeah, you can archive those channels just to keep it clean and simple to use. So yeah, archiving is something you can do with channels.
If you archive it, can you bring it back at will?
Anytime you want to, yeah, quite easily. With channels, you can quite easily retrieve them. But let me see if we can, I'm not sure we've archived any on this one. So I'm just going to go to Manage Team. Here's some channels. In fact, even if you delete channels, here we go, you can restore them. If you can see here, one of these channels was deleted back in October. We've finished this particular testing for a particular MIO. I'll say an app, we'll come on to those a bit later, but yeah, even if you delete them, you can restore them. So yeah, no problem at all in restoring any of these deleted or even archived channels.
So what's the difference between an archived channel and a deleted channel if you can restore a deleted channel?
Deleted channel. No, we're talking. We're getting technical now. There are known as policies, and deleted channels will only hang around depending on what a policy has been set up by your IT organization. I don't want to get too technical. That deleted channel will eventually disappear. The archive ones won't.
Fine.
Right. Okay. So yeah, is that okay, Michael? That gives you an answer about what your channel, what channels are and how to create them.
Absolutely.
Great. So let me just show you some of the things we can do in channels. Conversations is, we have a lot of conversations. In fact, here at Redwing is probably the only place we have conversations inside the organization. But we do so much else. There's so much else you can do. I'm just going to quickly go through some of these things we can do. Sorry, this is this morning. I'm just catching up some share prices. I can just post share prices in a channel for everyone to see if I want to. And I did this morning. Yeah, we had a quick conversation about something this morning before we started this webinar. I'm going to come on to this one a bit later, but this is a really useful one. I receive emails that no one else receives. They're kind of from Microsoft, giving us the latest information about updates coming to not just to Teams, but anything. That needs to be seen by the whole team. Rather than me sending the email to the whole team, I can just post it in a team channel. Everyone in that channel can see the email. Google Alerts. We set up Google Alerts for Microsoft Teams. I want to see what everyone else is talking about out there in the wonderful world. So rather than me go onto Google or do a search for Google, I've set up a Google Alert. Rather than me go on my Google account, post it straight into Teams. And I can see all these Google Alerts. I can see what people are talking about out there in the wonderful world.
Martin, I just want to ask you about mentions, because that's, I guess, an integral part of posting things. And especially when you're going to post something for everybody on the team. Maybe you could help us with that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's just come back down to the conversation we had here earlier on. Yeah, you see this one here. We're just talking about, oh yeah, there was an article we're creating just to do something with Teams. But I wanted the whole team to see this article. I wanted the whole team to see the message I was posting in Teams. So what I've done here, you can see Redwing Group. That's the name of the team. So I mentioned the whole of the team. Let me just show you how I did that. So I started a new conversation. You can see here, type @ to mention someone. It says someone, but it doesn't say the whole team. I can just type @ the name of the team, and there's the name of the team, Redwing Training. I can also mention an individual channel. There's 2 channels in the same team, Redwing e-learning, Redwing Training. Anyone in the team, when I mentioned it, will get a notification. So they're going to need to read that conversation. Anyone in the channel will get a notification. They'll make sure they read that conversation. So I can mention teams, I can mention channels, or I can mention individuals.
And then what about general? Because I understand that if you write general, then it goes, where does it go to if you write general? Teams or?
The general channel. So the general kind of channel is for nothing that's obviously any general kind of conversations you want to have within that team that are not covered by the channels that you've set up.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the mentions really, really useful. Just to bring people's attention to these conversations that are being started in a channel. Right. Cool. Let's just see what else we're doing here. Yeah, polls. We had a poll earlier on just now about how much time you're spending in teams, in team channels. You can create polls, questionnaires directly in your channel for all of your team members to participate in. Here we're just having a poll about our next social event. Here, yeah. Also, we've got a great email here on YouTube. It's a great email on YouTube. What am I talking about? There's a great video on YouTube about LeanMail. Post it in the team channel.
There you go.
You like that, Michael? Yeah. So, but the thing is, you can, rather than the whole idea with Teams, as I said, 80% of your working day in Teams. Rather than you go from Microsoft Teams, then jump onto the browser to start having a look at video. Stay in Teams. And get your team members to stay in Teams and have a look at all this information. It's relevant, obviously relevant to the channel, relevant to what you do. More conversations there, more mentions there. You can see in the conversations we have, we're using them all the time. And here you can see it's easy to see where people have mentioned because these little the symbols, these mention symbols appear. This one here is a mention in a channel. This one here is mentioning an individual. And there we go. We've got people liking the conversation or even acknowledging that they've seen the conversation. What do we got here? Just
Martin, just touching. Sorry, Martin. Touching on that point of acknowledging a conversation. What about protocols regarding things like that? Let's say you put something out for your team and you want to make sure that everybody has actually read something. Does it make any sense to make a protocol that says, hey, when you've seen something that's put out in a certain way, we'd like you to give it a thumbs up or some sort of reaction?
Oh, without a doubt, and I do get my client, people I train to do this all the time. Yeah, the little thumbs up here, brilliant, to acknowledge that you've read that message. Mm-hmm. It is a like button. We're all used to it. I wish Microsoft would rename it as an acknowledgement. I really do. But yeah, you can see whoever's posted the message. Any member of the team can see who's acknowledged it, who's liked it. Or why not use any of these other emojis? But yeah, that's a great idea, Michael. And I do get my clients to do that or try and use that as a protocol rather than replying to messages. You could thumbs up or things like that.
Do you know of any companies who actually say, hey, if somebody is messaging you, you should do that? Or is that too?
Not you should. No, it's just kind of almost, a recommendation, I guess.
Nice to have. Okay.
Yeah, nice to have. Yeah. Right, what else have we got? We saw something appear there, a little B appear there. So we got some great. This is something we can post into. One thing I haven't mentioned, I just worth mentioning this at this point. Everything that's going on in this channel, this Redwing Training channel, it's a real social platform. Everything that's going on here, every team member can see, and I love it. It's like almost like recreating this open office environment that we were used to months and months ago. And that's the key thing here. Everyone can see everything that's going on. What we've done here, we just kind of someone had some great, we had an email from a client a couple of days ago, just praising some training we were doing. I thought, well, let's post a bit of praise in the team channel for everyone to see, rather than that one person sit on the email and not even posting the email into the channel. We posted a bit of praise in there. And then we got thumbs up from Paul. Great little feedback we got there. Yeah, we can record meetings. We can have meetings in Teams channels, record them. Anyone that's not in the meeting can go back and just look at the recording and look at who attended. We've got an attendance report there, all in the same place. We're not hunting around for this stuff all the time. Everything's in the same location.
And does that land there by itself? How do you get that video in the channel?
Right, as long as you set the meeting up in the channel. So a couple of ways of doing that. Can you see up here, we've got a meet button. Ensuring you're in the channel, the correct channel. If we just, this is almost an impromptu meeting. As long as you're in the channel, meet here, and you record the meeting, it will appear here straight away. The other way, if you're scheduling a meeting, now I'm going to jump into my calendar here. It's interesting you asked that question, because I don't think many people realize this, and you can only do this from Teams. You can't do it from Outlook calendar. Can you see here when you're setting up a meeting, you've got add channel, and from here you pick the appropriate team, the appropriate channel, and when you schedule the meeting, details of that meeting, if you record it, the attendance report will live in the channel itself.
Wow, that's a great one to know.
Yeah, not many people realize that at all. And as I say, we can see there we have a, let me just jump back into my team. We have a regular monthly meeting, sorry, regular weekly meeting even. And sometimes we record it if someone's not there. If everyone's there, we don't record it, but it will always pop up in the channel. So whoever's not there knows exactly where to find it. Right, and you see, we're kind of just still on this posts tab, you know, where most people just have conversations. Yeah, we're just on the post tab. Even in the post tab, there's so much we can do here. This one's great. Now we're able to move around. Now we can in the UK. We can go to cafes. We can meet people in the cafes. And bearing in mind here that Teams is also a mobile app. If you're arranging to meet someone somewhere, why not post it in Teams? Yeah, you've got the location. This is a cafe a few miles down the road from me. More importantly, directions. How do I get there? I'm not doing any searches on Google. I'm not doing whatever I normally do. It's all in my Teams channel. So we know where we're going to meet, and obviously.
So Martin, sorry, how do you do that? How do you post?
Right. Now we're going somewhere. Right. So what I'm showing you here, some of these are little apps. So let me just show you these little apps we've got here. So here I've just started a new conversation. Now I've got these apps installed, and one of these apps we're looking at here is called a Places app. So I use it quite a lot, so it's obviously installed here already for me. I can click on Places. Now, where do I want to go? I don't know. Let's think. Nearest. Okay, I'm in the UK, so I'm going to have to do this. Nearest pub to where I live, which is a place called Derby. I can in fact put my postcode in there. DE22. There you go. There's the pub. Let's go for which one? Oh gosh. Which one out of those do I? The Red Cow. There you go. That's probably the nearest one to me. Post it straight away. It's in there. Make sure I send that into the channel. But these are apps. These are all little apps that you can use without any charges whatsoever. This one's a great one, the Places app. I use it all the time.
So I can imagine on your telephone, you bring up the Teams app, you can see this, you click on it, and it'll take you where you want to go, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's that simple. It's that simple. You're not jumping from one app to another. You're essentially saying in Teams all the time. It's just amazing the way it works. Shall I show you a couple of other apps? Because I love these apps that we've got. Shall I show you a couple of others?
Please.
Anyone a Starbucks fan? Because I'm not. But there's not a Costa app yet in Teams, but there's a Starbucks app, yeah? And what you can do here is if you want to kind of reward a member of staff for doing something, you know, out of the ordinary, or just give them a Starbucks coffee, you know, you amaze me or whatever, you can post an e-gift voucher to that member of staff. Where's that? How much for you? There we go, $10 to $100 if you want. But you've got an app that allows you to give a member of staff or a team a coffee. There's so many of these, but there's not a Costa one at the moment, which is very frustrating because that's my favorite.
So,
right,
you know, Martin, I'm just thinking, you know, all of this right now seems very internal or internally oriented. What about collaborating with externals? Are there some possibilities there?
Yeah, so if we go back to the team side of it, as an example I very briefly mentioned earlier on, we kind of picked up a new client 6 months or so before lockdown, and every single bit of every communication we've had, all the communication has gone through Teams. Mike, you're not going to like this. We haven't exchanged an email at all in all that time. Yeah, every bit of communication we have has gone through Microsoft Teams in channels. So we set up a separate team. I was added in there. There were 3 or 4 other members of well, in fact, now there's about 150 members in that team, all from the other organization. But it's a separate team. We've divided the channels into exactly how we work, you know, the kind of courses we run, and everyone in the organization knows where to go to find courses, knows which channel to go into. But yeah, we've set up a completely new team just to communicate using that method. But
then you have to actually formally create a team for each external that you're using. You can't communicate with people on the fly in Teams.
You can certainly chat to people on the fly in Teams. My email signature has literally got a link at the bottom of it saying, if you want to have a chat with me, click on this link and we can chat in Teams.
Okay, so we need to put that. We need to put that link in our email in order to do that.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. Or we're not obviously not in Teams chat. We're kind of diverting now from out of team channels now because we're going into chat up here.
Maybe we'll do that later. Maybe we should stick to what you're saying.
I think we'll stick to channels. Yeah. Because in fact, because this is interesting. Where we're going now with this, and this is not really internal. I'm not external. This is internal. Because when I talk to a lot of people that are using Teams, and for the first time, they say, oh yeah, we're using Teams. Yeah, we're having chats all the time. We're having meetings. And then you kind of start drilling down a bit. And so many of them are having conversations here. They're having conversations in chat. And I say, do you not have conversations in the channels? And then they kind of go blank. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, look at it like this. If you're having a conversation in chat, you decide who to talk to. So you might have a team of 10 people and you think, I'm going to ask this question to 2 or 3 of my team colleagues or my colleagues, because I know they've probably got the answer. And I said, well, what about the other 6 or 7? Why don't you ask them? Oh, they might not have the answer. I said, well, how do you know? I know them really well. I said, have you ever tried posting the same question in a channel? I said, why would I do that? Well, you're asking 10 people rather than 3. You really don't know everything these people know. So I'm not a huge fan of using chat when you're talking internally in Teams. I'm a massive fan of using conversations in channels. Essentially, you're using the connective knowledge of the team. And also another one, I'll give you an example of something. I was talking to someone a couple of weeks back and he said, oh, Martin, if only you'd got my organization to do this last year. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the amount of times I sat there at home on my own and nothing was going on in Teams. I was getting the regular emails, that was fine, but I didn't know whether anyone was working. I didn't know whether my team colleagues were out there. They were just having a chat up here in chat. If they'd had the conversation in a channel, I could have seen it. I might not have joined in, but at least I can see people are out there. I'm not on my own. At least I can see my colleagues are having a conversation. And he said, I'm now going to try and get my organization to not do chat conversations, but to do them in the channels, because we're going to carry on working at home. And that's a conversation I had 2 or 3 weeks ago. Sorry, I've gone on a bit of a different way altogether there. Sorry about that.
I just want to ask you about that, because it sounds to me like you can curate a little bit better if people are using the right channel for the right conversation and you have the right threads in there. Does it matter in terms of search when you're searching for something? Will it look in the chat and the Teams and everywhere else, or will it look in? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, search looks everywhere really.
Okay. So it doesn't really matter if it's chat.
Yeah, no, not really. It's going to look everywhere. It's going to look in chat. It's going to look in Teams. It's going to channels. It's going to look everywhere. So it's not going to affect search at all. And the other great thing about this, if you want to. I don't save a conversation. If you want to refer back to a conversation at a later date, so let's say this one here, we want to refer back to. Again, let's go back to our emojis, our little acknowledgements up here. I can click on the ellipses there, save this message. If I want to retrieve any saved message, I can just click up here and they moved it the other day. Thanks, Mark. I remember where it is. Here it is, just right down the bottom here, saved. And that will just show me any messages I've saved. So it's very quick, and that's, it's just makes so much more sense to have conversations in here, team conversations in here. Right. What else have we got in here? I think that's kind of a lot. Yeah, again, team meeting. You can see it just repeats itself. But oh, here's an interesting one. Announcements. We're posting announcements in here. In fact, there's a couple here. Just a simple announcement. Now, this one I've actually said I don't want anyone to respond. I'm not too bothered about you liking it, giving emoji, no response or anything. But just post an announcement. Just a new client that we've won. A kind of a client based mostly in Europe. But why not post it for the whole team to see?
Great. Could I ask you to kind of switch gears a little bit now and talk about collaboration on documents within the team's channels?
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. No problem. So what we can do then is we've got you can see got loads and loads of tabs up here in this channel, and we're going to Files tab. This is one that most people have. And here, this is I've set this up for demo because let me try and explain what's going on here with Redwing Training. We used SharePoint long before Teams came out. So literally when we started using Teams, I linked SharePoint straight into Teams. So that's what's going on. I don't want to get into too much of a technicality, but Files, this essentially is what I've set up just to demonstrate, but this is what most people will be used to. You can create files directly in team channels. Yeah. So here I've set up a folder called demo. Now, again, the thing to bear in mind here is that every single team member gets access to all these files. Every team member can go in and edit them, view them, make changes. Yeah, it's very much open access. Yeah. In fact, let's open up one of these. Just pop up this sales one here. There we go, spreadsheet. And in fact, there we go. In fact, we've got someone in here at the moment. So you can see here, this other chap is in here. Paul Anderson is in here. If I wanted to, I could see which cell is in, but if it was a big workbook and we wanted to find out which cell is in, it would tell me up here. But there's none of this sharing anymore. There's none of this, oh, someone else is in this file. You need to kick them out before you can go in there. If the file is in Teams channels, any team member can go in there, start editing it. And also, there's really, in Excel, there's a brilliant feature that they added a little while back. Here it is, show changes. Basically what this is, who's made a change, when they made a change, what did they make a change from and to. There's no hiding now. So people say, I didn't do that. I didn't do it. I said, well, you did. It's there. But this is because it's in Teams. You wouldn't get this anywhere. If you, long as it's in Teams, this is the sort of things you've got.
I'd say I was always a little bit jealous of people with Google Documents. I've always been a proponent of Microsoft, but Google always, they could go into spreadsheets and they could change things and you could see it on the fly. It's so nice to see that Microsoft has brought that.
They've caught right up. But as an interesting, you mentioned Google, because look at this. If you've got clients or suppliers that use Google Sheets, you can collaborate with them directly in Microsoft Teams. Yeah. But yeah, Microsoft has definitely caught up with Google. But there you go. If you've got them, because I've still got one client that for some reason still use Google Sheets and Microsoft Teams, and we collaborate in Sheets. And there we go.
It's great. What about OneNote? I don't know if you have an example there, but a lot of people are in love with OneNote and want to use that. It's a Microsoft product, so I suppose it's also represented in Teams.
Yeah. So, like most people, I love OneNote. I've used it for years. Couldn't live without it. It's on my phone. It's on my desktop. It's on my laptop. It's everywhere. But how can you use it in Teams? What we've got here. Sorry. What are we looking for? Team meeting. There we go. Team meetings. That's what we're after. So every week we have a team meeting. So this is the one set up for Monday next week. But this is using OneNote. And we don't email, again, apologies for this, Michael. We don't email team agendas. We don't email team minutes. And nothing like that. Obviously, we send the meeting invite. But all of our meeting minutes are in Teams channel, in a OneNote notebook that we've brought into our team channel. And you can see there they go back to August last year. Yeah, so we're soon going to have to distinguish between 20 and 21. But all of it's here. You can see the agenda. In fact, let's go back to this week's one. Yeah, so agendas, open issues, action points. So I don't know how much you've used OneNote for, but yeah, we can tag them, we can action them, we can assign tasks and everything like that to people. But yeah, so we use. You see there, we use OneNote, and you can use OneNote in Teams, no problem at all. So
I don't mean to get too technical, but in order to bring OneNote in here, you've just clicked on the plus, looked for the application.
Essentially, yeah. Okay. So add a tab. You've got this plus up the top here. These are all the apps you can add as tabs. In here, you're going to find OneNote, top left-hand corner. And once you click on that, you're going to be asked to find the OneNote notebook and just, add it as a tab to your team channel.
Okay.
All right. Do you want me to show you some other things that we do in Teams, in the channels, just to kind of give you more of a flavour of the other sort of things you can do? In fact, I'll tell you what we will do. Let's have a look at some of the other apps. These are tabs, because we're on tabs, these are other channel tabs. So basically during lockdown, obviously we've got training, we were lending out laptops and things like that, but we needed to track them, where they were going. So we set up a little tracker here in Teams and in the same channel. But what we're using is an app that's available called Lists. Forgive me if I get too technical, we get lists in SharePoint, but you've also got a lists app in your channel. Just simple lists to track things, but you can use lists for multiple things. But it's one of those apps you get free of charge, a Microsoft app that you get as part of a 365 license. There's a couple of other apps that we're using here. This one here. Just a simple whiteboard that we've posted in our team channel, because what we're doing at the moment, we're creating a new course, a new kind of e-learning platform, and people are just posting ideas on this whiteboard. I did read something from Microsoft recently that they're improving the performance of whiteboard in Teams, so hopefully it won't take that long to load next time. But here we go. People have just posted, as you expect, a whiteboard, post-it notes. We're just posting. Any team members can post ideas into this team channel. Another great little app that we use from time to time. There's another one. Again, similar sort of thing. We kind of track courses. And some of you might be familiar with this, but this is an app called Planner. So this is where we can assign tasks to our team members. And looking at that, there's a few overdue, a couple from me as well. But we kind of, again, this is all in the team. This is all very open. It's in the team channel. All the team members can see it. They can comment on it. But this is using an app called Planner. Not too dissimilar for those that are familiar with something called Trello. Not too dissimilar to that. You've got cards. You can assign tasks or cards to individuals, and we can quickly filter out. We can have a look at those ones that are late. Oops, there's a couple from me there. But we can do filters. We can change the view. We can do all sorts of things in here. We can look at who those tasks are assigned to. So these are all different apps, and the ones I've shown you here, they're all part of a 365 license. I'm not paying anything extra for them, but we're using them in Teams channels.
Right. I want to take us back a little bit to the channels. I want to ask you about private channels, because, for instance, HR will want to have their own channel and not share that with too many people, and also maybe externals. Could you cover that a little bit?
Yeah. So interesting question. You can see here, here at Redwing, we've no kind of need for a private channel because there's not many of us here. But so I set this up as an example. But I'll tell you, let me give you an example again. The client that I started working with just before lockdown, there was all this training was being organised by only 3 people, but the company had 200 employees, and there was no need for the 200 people to see what we were talking about before the training was organised and scheduled. So we set up a private channel. The 3 of us were part of that team. Just the 3 of us are part of that private channel. So that's where we had all the communication to organise the training before we then kind of rolled it out to everyone else. So essentially a private channel is for a subset of team members, just to communicate and collaborate and chat, where the rest of the team don't really need to be involved. And you can have numerous private channels within the same team, but you've got to be a team member to be part of that private channel. You have to be a team member. Is that okay, Michael?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, for those who don't know how to set up a private channel, is it complicated to
No, it's pretty much when you set up a channel, you can choose whether it's a standard or a private channel. So to set up a channel, you would click on the ellipses for the team name. Sorry, the ellipses, the 3 dots. Add a channel, and here you just give channel name, channel description. A quick point on this, I'll come on to your question in a second. Where you're asked for descriptions, my personal view is it's really, really important to put a clear description of what goes on in this channel. Why should you use it? Because if you put new team members, if you add new team members, they want to know what goes on in this channel, and they can read the description. But here, can you see we've got a privacy setting, private or standard? And it says here, private, accessible only to a specific group of people within the team. That's the key thing. They've got to be in the team. And you can see here, only people that are in that private channel will see that channel in their list. If you're not in the channel, you just simply won't see it. So you won't even know it exists. Right. Let me show you a couple of other things. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a step back, Mike. I just want to go, because you talked about collaboration side just now. I don't know anyone that uses pivot tables at all for data analysis, or Power BI you see next to that. We'll jump onto that one in a minute. But I seem to be a bit slow refreshing today. But great, because you got a refresh, or as they name it now, a reload button up there in Teams. Hopefully this will come through. There we go. That's better. That's better. So here we go. We've got just our pivot table dashboard. For those of you not familiar with pivot tables, a little bit of techie stuff. We've got slices, we've got timelines, we've got obviously charts. But again, all of the team members can access this data. And what we're not doing here, again, apologies for this, Michael, we're not sending out a weekly report via email. Yeah, what we're doing, we're just updating the data in Teams, refreshing it, and it's all there instantly. Yeah, we're not creating extra spreadsheets by emailing them around on a Friday afternoon with the latest figures. All our team members are here. All of them can see the latest figures at the end of the week. And if I just wanted to, I don't know, pick out the 16 to 23 group, I can for 2021. There it is. I'm just in my team channel. Just want to see the figures. Power BI one. I don't know if anyone's using Power BI. Business intelligence software from Microsoft, quite an amazing tool. But again, we're in Teams, we're in our channel, and if some of our team members want to look at, I don't know, maybe their region that they want to look after, there it is. There's their figures. Just quite easily jump between everyone. Once all these Power BI reports have been set up by those Power BI gurus, we just access it from Teams and see sort of information we want to look at. Don't really understand what they do in the background, but Redwing Training, we do train all of this, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea. All we want is our figures. Right.
Great. In seriousness, are you actually doing the training in Power BI as well, or?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh crumbs. Yeah, we do training in Power BI. Yeah. Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
It's quite a staggering bit of software. If you do any kind of data analysis, pivot tables are fantastic, but if you want to really see some amazing data analysis, business intelligence software, Power BI is quite staggering. Yeah, we do training for that. So more than happy to talk to anyone about that at any time. Yeah.
Great. So you probably wouldn't expect this question to come from me, but what's a good way to pull people out of their inboxes and into Teams? How do you deal with that change management?
Right. I think there's a couple of things. You've really got to start from the top. You've got to get the buy-in from your management saying, yeah, we're going to start using Teams now. And then kind of cascade that communication. And you've got to obviously communicate with people saying, look, email traffic is huge. I had this conversation last week with a client. They just said to me, look, Martin, there's too many unnecessary emails. Sorry, Michael, again. But how can we start sort of reducing this? I said, look, so we got all of the kind of board people together, started showing them Teams. And I said, look, if you're going to implement this, communicate it. But more importantly, and I would say this, train your people so they understand how to do this, and B, why we're doing this, because I can quite easily pass that communication on in any training session we do. So it's definitely starting from the top, it's definitely communication, and you'll see this in a lot of articles online. Train people. Don't just assume they know how to do it, because I can tell you they don't. So many people are confused by Teams because it's a very, very different way of working.
So do you think a big part of this is the fact that it's new and people are a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning? So, they're used to having this hammer and everything's a nail, with the inbox, and bringing them over to Teams. I recognize, because I'm a big proponent of Teams, believe it or not. I'm not a proponent of email, even if I have a solution for email. I think Teams is a fantastic way to go, and I think we need both. I don't think we're going to get rid of email, especially because so much of the external, the contact with your customers is going on in email. So you better be right on top of that. So I'm not worried about my business going under it anytime soon. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. What is email more appropriate for than Teams? Are there certain things that are more appropriate in email than in Teams?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm going to have to agree with you, Michael. I think there's always going to be a place for email. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm a huge advocate of both. I love Teams, and I think email's great. But yeah, where would you use email? I think first of all, to start with, certainly with, other than the example I've given, for my clients, for my suppliers, for external people, email is still the number one communication tool. Probably because we haven't had that conversation about why don't we do this in Teams, or they're not using Teams to the extent that I'm showing you here. So definitely, I think that's where I see email traffic continuing. So definitely there. I suppose internally, I would say if there's maybe with having this long conversation in a channel, maybe we've had 1 or 2 meetings, you think, you know what, I just need to summarize this. What have we agreed? What are the action points out of this? This is a really important part of maybe a project or a new client. And I think at that point, okay, it could go in a CRM system, but at that point for a lot of us, it could be an email just to summarize everything we've been discussing, rather than post it in Teams. And then the obvious one, just something you don't want the team to see. You don't want the team to see, so then why not send an email? But there is always going to be, I think, a place for email. I don't see it going anywhere at all anytime soon.
Sure, just like there's messaging, WhatsApp, all these channels that we want to have for specific things. Great, Martin. We're running out of time, and I want to get to some questions from the audience.
Where's that time gone? Where did that go? Where did that time go?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's it gone?
So, we have a first question from Elio Stroif, and he asks, how do you keep track on which conversations and chats you need to follow up with?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
And he continues with, do you use the saved functionality for this?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That is what I use. Yeah. So if I want to follow, you saw there when I did a search for save, there's a few in there. I guess at this moment in time, that is the best way to follow up and to track any conversations you've had. And now I will say this because I do know someone that does this. He said, look, if I do need to track it, yes, I save it. But can you see this option we've got here? Share to Outlook. Some people, and these are people that, I'm maybe using LeanMail, but you can share it to Outlook and then track it in there. But at the moment, directly in Teams, save this message. And I'll just show you again how you find those saved messages, because I think I had a bit of a blip earlier on. It's here, up near your profile picture, and it's down the bottom here. So saved messages, just go and search for them as and when you need to action them.
I'll say that seems, with all the different messages that we need to reply to and maybe don't have time at that moment, I'd say that's a little bit of a heavy approach, but I guess that's where we are today with Teams.
At the moment, yeah.
I know that there are new apps coming out that will help us with that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have somebody on our show in the near future. They're soft releasing right now, so it'll be an interesting.
That'd be interesting. Very interesting.
What else? Anybody else have a question? Just go ahead and raise your hand, and hopefully I can see you and we can call on you. Any questions for Martin? All quiet there. I think you've answered every question that they could possibly have, Martin. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the calls. There's a few buttons on the left that maybe you could just review really quickly.
Yeah, so very quickly here. So you can have your whole kind of telecoms infrastructure routed through Teams. I don't have it here. No need to here, but everything can be routed through Teams. So you can just call people directly through Teams. You can have conversations, obviously video calls and everything like that. But talk to your telecoms provider, they should know how to switch it over. I mean, Microsoft even do their own kind of calling plans now. Certainly in the UK here, I looked at the costs a few months ago. They didn't seem to be particularly competitive, but you can certainly route your calls through Teams, and there's all There's so much you can do with the hardware side of it. You can, if you wanted to, you can have desktop phones that are linked into Microsoft Teams. You can link Teams into your meeting rooms. There's so much more you can do beyond what we're looking at here.
So if you're calling somebody on your team, are you going to use calls? Are you going to click on meeting? What are you going to do to meet with somebody on your teams? For instance, we often use Skype, right? Even though we have Teams, I'm sure we're doing this wrong. So tell me, should we stop using Skype and start going to Teams to talk to people?
Yeah, well, first of all, Skype for Business is being mothballed imminently. I saw an email. It's imminent. It is literally weeks away. But yeah, it's simply just going to calls and just call them. If you're sitting at your desk, why not just call them and you can just have that conversation straight away. I do it through Teams all the time. If I need to call someone, straight through Teams. And in fact, if you do it on your mobile phone, if you're if you're out and about, wandering around wherever, do it on your mobile phone. The signal, certainly from my experience, the quality of the signal on a mobile phone when I'm calling through Teams seems to be a little bit better than when I'm just calling them generally through my mobile phone. But yeah, just call them through Teams.
Great. I've got another question for you. Do you have any best practices on how many tabs you use on a channel?
You've noticed I've got a lot.
Yeah, as it was a training channel, I probably think you do not recommend to add all apps on channels. What I hear is that apps in Teams is generating a lot of confusion to end users as it is hidden, and each channel can have its own apps.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, I guess I've got a lot of apps. I've got a lot of tabs here in this channel. There's a lot of this is we do use. I do use. In fact, all of them I use. I'm saying, why am I saying a lot? We do use them all. I guess, why have I got so many tabs? It just means I can stay in Teams. You said earlier on, I spend 8%. I'm not jumping from one app to another. So is there a limit of how many tabs? I mean, for me, I've got probably about 15 or 16 tabs. I'm used to it now. I can jump quickly from one tab to another. Is there a limit? Possibly not, but as long as you're using them all, if you're not using them, just remove them. Just by, I don't know, I don't want to remove my Power BI one, but if you can see a little arrow there, I can just remove the tab. But I guess I'm just used to this number of tabs that I can just quickly jump from one to the next as and when I do.
Yeah. Let's remember, Martin, you've been using Teams forever, right? Since its inception.
Pretty much.
Just like anything, you didn't add all of these tabs at once. You probably added them, maybe one per month or one every couple of months, right? So you get used to this. So for you, not confusing at all. Maybe for other people, they're like overwhelmed by all these tabs. But just like anything, we started that journey when we had VCRs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got another question here. What is the connection between Teams and your intranet? Do you see clients using both?
Yeah. So if your intranet is hosted on SharePoint, then there is a link between the two, because all these files we saw here. So in the Files tab. Essentially, none of this is in Teams. None of these files are in Teams at all. All of these files you can see here are, in fact, stored on SharePoint. So if I just click open in SharePoint here, you can see my SharePoint site has opened. So if you're hosting your intranet on SharePoint, then all these team files, it really depends on how it's been set up. But yeah, absolutely, there's an intricate link if that intranet is hosted on SharePoint. SharePoint being obviously the cloud part of Microsoft 365, where amongst many other things we can store files, again collaborate like we do in Teams. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, well, I think that you're bringing up a really good point here, because I think there's a lot of confusion about SharePoint and OneDrive, and I think a lot of people don't realize that everything is actually stored on SharePoint, not on OneDrive, and OneDrive is kind of your personal folder place, isn't that right?
Yeah, so if you go back to the days when we had servers, you kind of had all these letter drive, X, Y, Zs, Ps, and then you had your own one. It might have been an M drive, and that was your own personal storage area. Well, that's pretty much how they've set up SharePoint and OneDrive. That M drive, that that storage area, which was yours on the server, that's now OneDrive in the cloud. Yeah, and any documents you put in there, only you can see them. And if you want anyone else to see them, you can share them from there. And SharePoint is the equivalent of all those other letter drives you had in the days of server. And you're right, there is a confusion between the two. One interesting way that I know one of my clients uses OneDrive. They'll put their documents in OneDrive. So they might be working on a new spreadsheet or a new proposal, but whilst they're working it on their own, there's no one else needs to see it. They'll leave it in OneDrive. When it's ready to share with the team, they'll move it into a team channel for everyone to see. They'll move it, they won't copy it because they don't want 2 copies of that version, but they'll move it into the appropriate team channel.
Right.
Cool. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic.
There's been a little bit of talk in the chat here about Mac and about how sometimes it's difficult to join teams from a Mac, but you're not a Mac user.
Hang on. Right, here we go. You see here, I've got a little tab that says how to. So basically this is using a wiki page. And in here, can't believe I've got it, but it says Mac. And it says, oops, screen sharing teams. Now, I don't know much about Mac because I'm not a fan, but apparently not in addition to having problems joining teams, apparently there's a problem with screen sharing in Teams. I don't know if anyone can help me with that, but there is the fix. Yeah, so we've basically, when we get questions like, if ever I come across the issue with joining a team with a Mac, I'll put the answer in this little how-to tab on our team channel for all of our team members can see it.
So that's very interesting. This how-to tab, is that like a curation or a knowledge base app?
Well, essentially what it is, it's a wiki page. And in fact, when you set up a new channel, let's go into our general channel because we don't really use that. You'll see, we have not for a while, we haven't. You'll see I've got a wiki tab here. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's set up a new channel so you can see exactly what should we call it. Sorry about this. Resist. Couldn't resist. Right, there we go. You've got a wiki tab. Every new channel gets a wiki tab. I just renamed it to how to.
Oh, you renamed it. Okay.
Yeah, I just renamed it to how to. And it's just broken down into pages and sections and et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we've created there.
I think that's a brilliant app, and I think far too few people use that one because it's great to be able to curate the information in the company so that you're not constantly asking each other, how do you do this, how do you do that? And first look in the wiki, and then you can ask your question, and then you're curating that information over time.
And that's pretty much how this has worked. Exactly how this has worked here. Some questions, early questions on Teams. Excel's changing a lot, etc. So yeah, it's exactly how we use this here.
I want to point out that somebody's saying, Heike is saying, stop with using any kind of wiki. Use OneNote. Since you're a OneNote user, how do you react to that?
How do I react to that? Give me a second. There you go. There's my OneNotes. Loads and loads. There you go. I've even got a OneNote notebook for recipes. I use it a lot. Oh gosh, hang on. Sorry, I didn't just jump out. I use it a lot. So
yeah, so OneNote wiki, it looks to me like that's pretty complex with OneNote, and it looks very personalized, whereas maybe the wiki is more corporate. Is that how you describe that?
There's a lot. It's a lot more capability in OneNote without a shadow of a doubt. A lot more functionality. Yeah, we can assign tasks to people, all that sort of thing. This is a very, very straightforward. This I guess the wiki page, it just suited exactly what we wanted. Quite straightforward. It's just text. We don't need to do anything else with it. A very, very simple how-to guide. Didn't need to link it into anything else, and that just seemed to make sense to use the wiki page rather than the OneNote notebooks. But hopefully you saw there we do use them a lot here, and we have for years.
Great. Martin, we're out of time. Is there anything else you want to add before we take off today?
I'll tell you what, I will. A little giveaway. Here you go. Searching for files in Teams is amazingly quick. Yes. Recent files you've worked on, there you go. Just do a / files, straight away they appear up there. Searching for files these days is dead simple. Yeah. E365 is the name of a workbook. If I just type the name up there, left of there, I've got a lot of files that have called that. But searching for files, use this search for files. It's so incredibly powerful. That's my last giveaway.
Well, I want to thank Martin very much for a great webinar today. Martin Perry from Redwing Training and everyone for attending. We'll be posting a recording of today's webinar so you can share that with your friends and colleagues. Our next webinar will feature Antonio Bibofsky from AntText, a company that provides a way of creating branded email templates that will wow customers and make it very easy for you to share your content through email. That webinar will take place on September 9th at 3 p.m. CET. Until then, this is Michael Hoffman from LeanMail, wishing you a fabulous summer. Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.